Welcome back to the news at 10. More than 1.5 million people around the world have been infected with the coronavirus pandemic. The figures were made known by the Johns Hopkins University, which has been keeping track on the figures. The number of recoveries has also risen beyond 300,000, and the number of deaths has risen beyond 93,000. Let's take a look at some business news now. Here's Kayode Okikiolu.
Thank you, Jama, and you're welcome to Business News. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and allied oil-producing nations have agreed to reduce oil production by 22% for each alliance member state in May and June. The OPEC ministerial meeting, that's OPEC Plus, which has Nigeria in attendance, is being held via video conferencing to discuss a possible end to the oil price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia, which has affected oil prices since March. The estimated total amount of reductions for the OPEC Plus members is expected to stand at approximately 10 million barrels per day under the deal, while Russia and Saudi Arabia will cut their output from 11.3 million barrels per day to 8.75 million barrels per day. Meanwhile, oil prices have reversed its earlier 12% gain, which as much as 9% loss, as traders fear reductions will fall or fail to offset biggest demand collapse in history. Still in that market, Shell has declared force majeure on exports of Nigeria for Okado's crude oil stream, and that follows a shutdown by the pipeline's operator. A spokesperson for the oil giant's local subsidiary, Shell Petroleum Development Company of Nigeria, says the action came into effect on Monday afternoon after Heritage Energy Operational Services Limited shut down the Trans-Forcados pipeline, which it operates on April the 4th. Meanwhile, cargoes of Kwa Ibo and Bonny Light crude continued to be offered at around dated Brent minus $3. And the World Bank says sub-Saharan Africa will post its first recession in 25 years. It's in the region's three biggest economies, which are Nigeria, South Africa and Angola, as the coronavirus pandemic disrupts global trade. Its Africa Pulse report released today, the Washington-based lender says gross domestic product in the region will probably contract 2.1%, minus 5.1% in 2020, while growth was 2.4%. In 2019. The growth downgrade is based on risks, including a sharp decline in output in key trading partners such as China and Euro area, falling commodity prices, reduced tourism, and measures taken to contain the virus. The World Bank estimates the virus outbreak will cost sub-Saharan Africa between $37 billion and $79 billion in output losses, and that's of course due to disruption to trade and value chains, reduced foreign investment, as well as aid. More stories. Nigeria's former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, and former managing director of the World Bank, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, have asked the G20 countries for a $44 billion debt relief for African countries to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. In a letter addressed to the G20 nations, the duo joined over 100 world leaders to demand an immediate internationally coordinated action within the next few days to address devastating global economic and health crisis from the novel coronavirus. They also asked the international community to waive this year's debt repayments for poorer countries and consider future debt relief to give them the fiscal capacity to tackle the impact of COVID-19. Well, let's head over to the stock market, where the bulls had the upper hand as more bargain hunting activities boost equities' total value by 150.82 billion naira on the last trading day of the week. Bisi Adebayo now gives us the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The Nigerian equities market sustained the positive momentum today, with the main index appreciating further by 1.47% as the market ends the trading week ahead of the Easter holiday. Today's gains were mostly driven by investor interest in 4 out of the 5 major sectors we track, particularly the consumer goods counter, which appreciated by over 5% thanks to strong gains recorded by big names like Cadbury and Nestle. 24 equities appreciated, and top on that list were Dangote Sugar, UBA, and Cadbury, with gains of over 9% each. Omatech led 9 other decliners for the day, which also include Hams and Unity Bank. FBN Holdings recorded the highest volume of transactions with more than 56 million units of shares traded, while a total of 314.9 million shares changed hands by investors in over 5,400 deals. And that's it on the stock market reports. I am BC Adebayo.
The management of the Nigerian Petroleum Development Company has donated medical items to the Delta State government to support the government's efforts to check the spread of COVID-19. Making the donation at the Asaba Specialist Hospital, the manager, community relations of the company, Mr. Dahiru Abubakar, says the donations are in line with the company's corporate social responsibility.
Truckloads of hand sanitizers, hand gloves, face masks and personal protective equipment worth 20 million naira are all part of the donations from the Nigerian Petroleum Development Company, NPDC, to the Delta State government as contribution to help the government in its efforts to fight the coronavirus.
NPDC is operating in 6 states, and Delta State is one of them, where NPDC's operation is about 60 to 80%. And NPDC's headquarters, our head office, is in Benin, and that was the reason we started with Edo State, because that is where the head office is. Where next we have our operations majorly is in Delta State. That explains the reason why we decided to start with Edo and Delta States.
So what we're doing here today is just to at least to spike up our activities in health and community. Even transit communities are involved. Nobody is excluded. So coming here is the focal point. People get into this facility and then go away. The government is responsive.
The State Commissioner for Health receives the items on behalf of the state government with thanks and appreciation, urging other well-meaning Nigerians to do the same.
NPDC has shown that it is socially responsive, and you began also in a very grand manner, seeing these multiple trucks all loaded with materials for, like you just said, especially the frontliners, the caretakers, the clinicians and others who will be in the front line of our COVID-19 response activities.
The NPDC is a corporate organization that places high premium on the health and well-being of its host communities through its corporate social responsibility program. A subsidiary of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation engaged in the exploration and production of oil and gas, with a production volume standing at over 200 barrels of oil per day and over 600 million standard cubic feet of gas per day. The NPDC is the 5th largest oil company in Nigeria.
As the nation continues to grapple with the COVID-19 and its impact, Hypo Home Care Products, makers of popular bleach, have again donated products to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control for the disinfection of isolation centers and other public places nationwide. While confirming the donation to the NCDC team in Abuja, the brand manager of Hypo, Omotunde Bamigboye, says the need to further support the government in the area of product support to effectively disinfect isolation centers and other public places became necessary as the numbers keep rising and penetrating more states across the country. We have donated 200 cartons of Hypo's biggest SKU, equivalent of 2,800 litres of bleach. Receiving the products on behalf of the NCDC, the Deputy Director, Special Duties, Dr. Priscilla Ibekwe, commended the company for their continued support. The management of the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company has also joined the fight against the spread of coronavirus with other areas now in donating food items worth 10 million naira to the Oyo State government as part of palliative to the residents. The Ibadan regional head of the company explained that the company decided it was not enough to just improve power supply.
More contributions from government and the private sector towards mitigating the hardships caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. This time, the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company has joined others, lending a helping hand to the Oyo State government. The company is donating food items worth 10 million naira to the state government as part of the palliatives for residents.
The company has budgeted on behalf of the entire board and the management and staff of Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company, budgeted enough money to provide food items ranges from rice, semovita, indomie, and all the rest of it to support the state government. And of course, like I said in my address, on behalf of the CEO, that we are doing this simultaneously, across the entire franchise area where IBEDC cover.
It doesn't end there. They extend a gesture to the University College Hospital, Ibadan, with a cash donation of 5 million naira. This response follows an appeal made by the hospital last month for well-meaning individuals and organizations to join them in the fight against COVID-19.
We'll appreciate the kind gesture from IBEDC. It will help us, it will go a long way in enabling us to actually fight this pandemic to a standstill.
On behalf of the state government, we are thanking the donors. For the past 2 weeks, people are feeling concerned to the well-being of our people. We are promising to the whole world that all the items given to the state government, we will distribute it accordingly.
The organization says that a sum of 100 million naira has been earmarked for this project across all their franchise areas, expected to aid the coronavirus relief efforts in these states.
Now, while the world focuses on COVID-19, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control says Lassa fever has claimed 188 lives in 2020 in their latest weekly situation report on diseases in the country. The health agency reports that the number of new confirmed cases has reduced from 19 in week 13 to 12 in week 14, with a total of 963 confirmed cases so far. However, the case fatality rate of 19.5% in 2020 is lower than the CFR of 22.7% for the same period in 2019. This year, 27 states have recorded at least one confirmed case across 126 local government areas, with Edo, Ondo and Ebonyi states as the worst hit. The United Labour Congress of Nigeria is threatening to cut power and fuel supply to Rivers State following the arrest of 2 Caverton helicopter pilots by the state government. The president of the ULC, Joe Ajero, who condemns the arrest and detention of the pilots, is demanding their immediate release if the government wants to avoid confrontation with organised labour. The Rivers State government had on Tuesday arrested 2 pilots of Caverton helicopters for allegedly breaching an executive order of Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State. Now, the Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State today visited President Muhammadu Buhari to brief him on the prevailing security situation on the fringes of Lake Chad. At the meeting with the President, Governor Zulum discussed the recent military action of Chad Republic's forces against Boko Haram on the shores of Lake Chad and its implications on Nigeria's national security. Nearly 100 Chadian soldiers were recently killed by insurgents in the region. Still ahead on the news at 10, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson moved out of intensive care as global confirmed COVID-19 cases near 1.5 million worldwide. And more from our London Bureau in Around the World in 5. Do join us again.